Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Grid Shift podcast. I'm your host, Alex Durante. Great to be here with you today. This show is about talking to real operators, real founders, and real builders that are actually having an impact on the world, whether that's business, personal, humanity. We have real conversations with real people, cutting out all the fluff. Again, I'm your host, Alex Durante. It's great to be here with everybody today. Our show is brought to you by Access AI, where we help businesses and people get back more time, make more money so that they can focus on what they actually love. And so today I'm joined by a very special guest. Very excited to talk to you today, John. But our guest today is John Salzinger, from the founder of Haven Lantern. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. Before he founded that company, he has founded many other companies and had a large impact on the world, reaching millions of people. We're going to get into his story in just a minute, but whether it's coming up with inventions, having patents, connecting with people all over the world and helping them have access to something we'll get into in just a second with Haven Lantern. But John, how are you doing today? Great to have you on. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for the warm intro. No, nice to be here. Appreciate the platform. I do have a co-founder who's not on because her son is graduating high
All
school
right.
and going off to college, Sunga Jung, so I should mention her. But we're very excited to have this opportunity to talk to you, Alex.
Fantastic. I want to go back to something that you said in our pre-podcast call that stuck with me.
Mhm.
When we talked the other day, you said work is the biggest impact on the environment and on the human condition. And that really stuck with me. And so I'm going to do my best. You said, I'm going to do my best to offset as much of that as little old me can. And so that's where I want to start, because that's not how most people that we talk to look at business. And so I want you to run with that a little bit and just give me a little bit of your philosophy and what you meant by that.
Yeah, thanks. So, well, work is the biggest part of your life for most people in terms of the time of your day. But work also has, as you mentioned, the biggest impact on the world. And so if you look at environment, pollution, if you look at the human condition, um, it affects everyone. And I kind of go all the way back to, so we're in a capitalist society in the United States. If you go back to Adam Smith, are you making something that people need and then supplying that demand? Or are you doing a whole bunch of other things to make like a stock market go up or whatever, or fix your shareholders' pockets? And I think I think the most important thing with work is you're solving a problem, but that you're doing it in a sustainable way. And sustainability is used in the corporate world as a term, the ESG, the sustainable this, that, the CSR report, all that sort of stuff. That's nice. However, if your core business is not sustainable, or if you have a head of sustainability or a sustainability department or a foundation on the side that's doing good, well, then it doesn't sound like your business is doing good. It doesn't sound like you're solving an organic problem, right, for people and the environment. So I think there's a lot of people on the planet. That's a big challenge. And we are everywhere and we are in need of resources and we eat them up and we don't put them back. And what we're trying to do, and I said little old me, it's really just a couple of us. And what we're trying to do is make a big impact on the environment by putting out solar portable products that charge your phone or your tablet or light up your area. They're an abundant source of the sun, so it's free. So it doesn't hurt the person, and economically actually helps them, doesn't hurt them health-wise. It supplants kerosene, firewood, things that hurt your lungs. But at the same time, the environment, right? We're putting out a product that lasts a long time. It's solar. It offsets or averts CO2, I should say. And we're trying to do things that affect a lot of people. So my last company impacted 5 million lives and averted 4 million tons of CO2. Well, we're open now for a half a year, I think. And we've impacted 30,000 people already. And we worked with Catholic charities, Save the Children, uh, many other organizations, All Hands and Hearts, Amazon Disaster Relief, just a slew of incredible organizations. And it takes a village, right? So you have a business with a great solution, then you find kin in that community that can work with you. You find people with like-minded thoughts about business, and sometimes they're an NGO, and sometimes they're another product company, but sometimes they're a podcast host, right? Sometimes they want to help the world, right? Because it's built into the morality. And so I think that if that's who you think you are, if you think you're a good person, well, you can't spend 8, 9, 10 hours of your day not doing good things and doing harm to the planet and other people and still saying you're a good person. And I'm going to add one more thing that's really controversial that we did talk about. I think of the world as sort of, there's an amount of resources in the world, an amount of people. There's plenty of resources for the amount of people we have. One of the challenges that I see is kind of idolatry into the very rich. And this is not something you're going to hear from a lot of business people. But I don't think it's okay for someone to have so much money and other people to have none or little. So I have an analogy I use with burgers. There's 100 people in a room and 100 burgers. One person has 99 burgers. Everyone else is sharing one burger. How can that one person that's taken up 99 burgers be considered moral? And I don't see it. And I don't think they're an engine. I think they're filled with something like greed, and they're not doing something for the greater good. No matter how much they give back for tax breaks, etc., they still have 99 burgers. Like, what are we doing here? You want 2, 3, 4, 10 burgers? All right. Do you need 99 burgers? No. It's beyond multi-generational wealth, and it is a harmful environment to the human condition and the environment.
Those of you that are watching the recording when this comes out, rewind that and listen to that analogy again, because I think that, especially in today's world, that's something that you should plant in your head and really think about. Especially, we have a lot of business owners that watch this podcast. We have a lot of young and up and coming entrepreneurs. Rewind that and listen to that analogy and really think about that. Because when you start to look at things from that lens, I think you start to realize what John just explained, which there's plenty of abundance for everybody. There's no room for greed. There's no room for, hogging all the resources as we see in the world today. So I think that analogy is fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about really your origin, right? Where you came from. And what I like that you said was I don't do this and I don't think like this because I'm some amazing soul, but because I grew up, you said you grew up in a place that fostered it. And I know you grew up in New York, and you told me a little bit about your parents and what they did and how they really led by that example. And so I want to know, being in that environment, what did that teach you that a business school can never really teach somebody?
Yeah, so my dad was a behaviorist and my mom was a research scientist. Both very liberal in reference to environment and how people are treated. And I grew up in a city where the world came to me, right? New York City is extremely multicultural. There are plenty of places in the world that are like that, but New York is unique in the amount of culture you find on one block. It could be 20 different food cuisines. It could be, 20 religions. It could be all sorts of people with different cultures, etc. And what that does is it kind of opens up the world to the way you think. So you're not sort of stuck in a sort of homogenous way of thinking about things, right? And it does sort of feed your soul, right? You get all sorts of perspectives. The first and foremost is not everyone had the same background. Some people came from really like tough backgrounds. You think your situation is tough man, some people had nothing. And then that leads to being grateful. And my parents instilled that. And so I think where I grew up was really important because, as my dad says, your environment shapes you. And so if I grew up somewhere else, I might be someone else, frankly. And I think that's an honest approach to self. But I think it's an important recognition to being grateful for the opportunity if you have this sort of overall insight to all these different resources and thought patterns, what you're responsible to then do with that logic and that wisdom. And I have a 9-year-old son, and I want to pass that on to him. So it becomes multi-generational. So I want to take all that thought that my parents put here and put it into him as soon as possible. That's how I think you change the world. And you change it one person at a time, one podcast at a time, you know, one conversation at a time, one action at a time. But environment is key. And if you're in a bad environment, you might want to change your environment. You kind of are the compilation of your 5 best friends and family. That's who you are. Make sure you choose the right people, make the right decisions, and do the right thing. That's how I live.
Absolutely. And thanks for expanding on that. You mentioned to me punk rockers, graffiti writers, skateboarders, like growing up in old New York, you were hanging out with everybody, right? You would get off your block without really leaving your block, right? Because it was so diverse and so many different influences. And so I really want to know, growing up in that type of environment, not only your parents, but in New York, and just really the hustle and bustle of being around such a diverse community, how has that idea, I would summarize it as your philosophy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost everybody belongs. Yes. Everybody has a place. Everybody has a reason to be here. Everybody has a why. And so when you're building companies, like you're building Haven Lantern right now, I know you guys have been around for a little bit, but you're always building and growing. How does that philosophy come up in your companies as you're building them? Just everybody belonging, and that inclusivity type attitude.
Yeah, translates directly. It's there's one race, it's human. There was a really bright person who said racism created race, and then it's misused. I think when you look at different folks, you realize scientifically we're 99.9% DNA the same. We don't look at each other and say, oh, look at all those hazel colored eye people, or we don't look at all those people and define them by, oh, look at those are all baseball fans. Like we don't do that with a lot of things. And so what I try to do is think one love, one race. It's sort of a Bob Marley kind of feel. And our company treats our product offering, which is just a simple solar power station and light, to make sure everyone can have access to that tool, because it's a meaningful tool, because it charges your mobile devices, which are essential today. It provides light. It literally takes the sun and gives you the sun in a little object. It's a really wild, magical process, solar in general. And so what we do is we sell our light to people that can afford it at regular retail margins. And then because we're able to do that as a company, we can then bring that pricing down for communities that don't have that same amount of money, but still need that same tool. They're also human beings. They're the same. So we localize the pricing to those people on the wallets of our consumers that are happy to pay for it to go camping, right? You use a solar light to go camping. You chose to go off grid. What about people in Nepal that just had an earthquake or are in off grid because of their circumstance? Nothing to do with themselves, no fault of their own. Shouldn't they have the same tool? And it's a great equalizer. And so that's it. So with all that diversity, celebrate the diversity. But I think we should make sure that when we make solutions, we make it for everyone, affordable for everyone, useful for everyone, and it's feasible. It's possible. That's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And I want to dig into that a little bit more specifically with the Haven Lantern, right? You said you have a partner. We'll make sure to mention them again, but you're one of the founders of Haven. And I'm just going to read straight from here, right? Born
Sure.
from a decade of impact, Haven is not just a solar lantern, it's a next generation portable power and lighting solution,
Right.
a guiding light, a safe harbor, a beacon of hope for everyone, everywhere. You always have a Haven. Now, being straightforward, right? There's a ton of lantern companies out there. You got Coleman and GE, and they're building these lanterns, right? And we talked about how a lot of these products are built to break, right? They're not built to last. Not saying that about Coleman or GE. We
Right.
love whoever it is out there, but just speaking in general terms of product development,
Sure.
you're not always thinking about how can we make something last 10 to 15 years. But you guys did.
Yep.
You guys built a real product, and 10 to 15 years is probably me shortening the life cycle. But where do you think, one, I want you to talk a little bit about what Haven is, what the lantern actually does, what your product is, where people can get it. So let's start there. Just give us a little bit on the Haven lantern, how it came to life, and what it's doing for people now. Because I know you're working with people all over the world. There's NGOs, there's the Catholic charities we just talked about. I looked back and I know you've helped with disaster relief, whether it was in Haiti back in the 2010s, I believe. But just tell us a little bit more about Haven Lantern specifically and the
Yep.
product itself and what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in Mongolia, Puerto Rico, the US. We're about to ship to a couple other countries. We have decided that the bigger our network of NGOs and partners, the more people we can impact. And we've been really successful early. So this is the Haven Light, right? And very, discreet, embossed Haven here, so it doesn't scream a brand. There's an amazing monocrystalline efficient solar panel. There's a full panel flashlight. This is PVC, it's inert. Excuse me. This is silicone, it's inert, it's PVC free. So let me just edit that line out. This is, this is inert. This is silicone, so PVC free, it's inert. You can wipe it off with a damp rag, soft touch, feels great, looks great, has a high value and aesthetic. So we designed it with dignity. When you look at this, open it up like this, so there's two
Oh,
natural
wow, that's
states.
sweet.
Yeah,
That
and
is super
it's still
cool.
waterproof, right? Even you can expand it. There's one button on the top for the lantern. That
Ah,
blinking, the frame rate, that's not the light doing that. So it's like this orb that you have, and then it has SOS modes, and you hold to turn off. We have a second SKU that just came out as well. Um, this can be bought at havenlantern.com. This is now in REI. It's in Uncommon Goods. We are really excited about this. This provides 1,200 lumens, which lights up 1,900 square feet, which is ridiculous for such a small unit. It'll last up to 120 hours at 30 lumens, which is 20 nights at 6 hours a night. It'll charge your iPhone twice. It'll charge a brand new Apple tablet once with 30% left over for light. If there's a flood in Texas, you need this to be on your roof. You need to like make sure you charge your phone, and then you basically go to your flashlight, which is again frame rate, and let's go here. And that's normally just a regular blink other than the video. And now you got the
wow.
Coast Guard helicopter seeing you, right? That's your SOS mode. So we have a second SKU that just came out exclusive to REI for 3 months. This is the Haven 10,000. That's the battery. We have a Haven 6,000, also has a red mode. It's a little warmer light. But, we're going to keep going. We're taking solar and adding it to portable lighting and power. We're making the design more beautiful so that there's a real connection to the product for the end user so that they value it and use it. The Colemans of the world, all the other companies that are out there, they have their lanes. They're not real solar, they're not real power stations. They're really just task lights where they're using
Yeah.
batteries, alkaline batteries. I'm not making landfills, I'm making lives easier. That's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. No, that, and we'll make sure we put the links in there for that. And if there's a link to a video to check it out, we'll put all that in the comments
Thank
for
you.
everybody below. So make sure you guys do check that out at the end of the episode. That'll all be updated in the comments section and the description section. But okay, so 120 hours, waterproof, fully solar. Don't need batteries. Don't need a charger. You can charge your phone on it, built to last 10 to 15 years. People can already get it at REI. There's one right down the street from me. Great store. Love that
Nice.
place. Okay, so and then we'll get the links for your website and everything so people can check that out. Now,
Yeah, and you can charge it in the wall, of course. So you could charge it
and
7 hours
okay.
in the wall for the larger one, 3 for the smaller. Still gives you 100 to 120 hours of light. So
And you can't, and you already came out with a second SKU, another product. So you guys are always evolving and
oh yeah,
continuing to, yeah, that's fantastic. So again, that's the Haven lantern that John just showed. We'll post everything in the links for everybody. Check it out. I know I'm going to go get one. Whether it's
thank you.
camping, sitting in my backyard, just listening to nature, whatever it is, that looks like a fantastic product to have. I like to support all the people that come on when I believe in their products. Love what you said too. Like you're not creating garbage that goes in the landfill. I laughed after we got off our call because we talked about those old devices, and I had them. I remember getting my first one. I was in like fourth grade, the Discman or the Walkman or whatever people
Walkman,
like to
yeah,
call it, right? And we talked about how the jack dies in a year, and
always,
you go out and
every
buy
time.
another one, and like you're creating all this waste and all this garbage, and you're really adding to the pollution, and it's
Mhm.
almost by design, right? Even with phones today, the batteries are, like I read articles about certain company, they purposely made it so their battery would start going out and you wouldn't have a choice but to upgrade. And so
That's right.
we think about the impact that's having, and you guys have built a real product that goes against that philosophy.
That's right.
And so I want to know, what do you think we've lost when businesses started going in that direction versus actually thinking about the impact that they're having on the natural world? Like, what do you think we lost with that when businesses had that philosophy?
I think honestly, at the end of the day, it's the stock market and the idea that you can grow infinitely. Um, you can't grow infinitely because there's not infinite resources. We have one planet, and we have to take care of it. And so, if companies have to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but there's only, enough room for a certain amount of consumption, um, you're getting bigger for the wrong reasons. You're getting bigger to ensure just a small number of people, globally speaking, are, getting richer and their lives are better, but you're doing it at the cost of the entire planet. And it's not capitalism. It's not an economic system that's sustainable. And it's not something that I would say is righteous in any way, shape, or form. And I think there's a really easy roadmap to not doing that. So make something that solves a problem, define who you're selling it to, make sure that it's a decent price for them and for you, and run your business. Make your living, do what you have to do. But this idea that, things have to get so large, so quick, so fast, and we've seen them. We've seen even economically, a lot of these sort of movements are bubbles and they burst and then they hurt a ton of people. And generally, again, they hurt the lower to middle class folk. And this is just not me. This is just not how I grew up. And I just don't think it's the right way to be. I think it's easy for human beings to sit behind a computer on social, to sit behind a computer when they're trading, right, on the stock market, to do things that are greedy and do things that are inappropriate, do things that are rude, nasty. I think it's really hard when you're face to face with someone to push by them. If you're in a car, you could just cut someone off, honk, and keep going. If you're standing right next to a human being, that same person's probably not going to bump into you, cut you, and just go off and start yelling at you or honking, right? I think we have to kind of get back to this interaction, right? And try to realize, like, be brave, be yourself, be out there, and be proud of what you do, because at the end of the day, if you do good, you feel better. You're a happier person. It's not like every rich person is happy. There's a lot of miserable, extremely rich people. They're just nasty, upset, angry all the time because they
Oh,
also have the pressure. They got to keep growing and they got this ego. And no, that's not what the world is about. The world's about
yeah.
sharing, caring. That's what the world's about.
And that's how we filter out a lot of those business owners through the podcast, right? Because you can immediately sense the ego and the pride that they have. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for ego and there isn't a place for pride.
Yeah,
It helps a lot of people in a lot of different ways, but when it starts hurting people around you and starts having an impact on people around you that's negative, I'm not sure how anyone could be fulfilled with that type of a lifestyle. And so, you had even said, like, doing something nice for someone is what brings you fulfillment, right? It's not giving them tickets to a Knicks game or doing something like that. So, your definition of winning is a little bit different than what I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs with all the social media and doom scrolling and the highlight reels that are not real life.
that's right.
Like, when did your definition of winning change for you? Was there a certain thing that happened? Did it start early on, or like, you look at winning a little bit differently, man? And I think it's really admirable.
Yeah, I had a lot of inputs from, my parents to my friends to music. Um, I was sort of really interested in roots reggae for a long time, still am. Just the idea of being righteous, the idea of doing the right thing, positivity is a big deal to me. I think there's a lot of age-old customs and cultures in the world, from meditation to yoga to all over the world, um, that really allow you to take a step back and slow down. And if you're able to do that, you're happier, you're a better person, and those things become a cool cycle. I'm like anyone, man. I've got into ruts when I've been negative and I've been down on myself and all that kind of stuff. But if you can catch yourself and then flip it, and even in the face of negativity, in the face of someone coming at you, if you can be positive, the end of the day, you're going to turn that situation around. That person will see it for what it is, see you for who you are, and then you make that relationship better. You make the world better. I think it's just constant inputs. This conversation is one of those inputs. You and I are aligning. We're seeing eye to eye. We're both trying to be positive and push that out into the world. Frankly, this podcast feels good to me. So I'll probably do more of stuff like this. You know what I mean? That's how it is. That's why you put gold stars on your refrigerator when your kid does something good. My parents did that for me. Positive reinforcement works better psychologically than negative reinforcement. That's kind of
Right.
the way I think about it. It's every day is another day to learn, and every block in New York is another moment to reinvent yourself. I mean, this is our life. So make the most of it and share. Realize you're a very, very infinitesimally small part of this universe, but you can affect a lot more of this planet by yourself.
Right. It really does only take one, and the ripple effect is so real, and you see it every day in so many different ways. I just think sometimes media, social media, whatever it is, wherever you consume content, there's a lot more negative feedback than positive. And so that's definitely one of our missions with this podcast, is to pay it forward to people. Like, I had a lot of inputs, like you said, from people who really expressed gratitude to me, gave me positive feedback, whether it was my parents, uncles, friends, coaches, people I didn't even know, just someone at the grocery store who
Coaches,
told me
yeah,
I had a nice shirt, right? So,
yeah,
like, just that positive reinforcement. And so I got two more things and then we'll wrap this up. So, one of the things I do towards the end of every podcast is I ask my magic wand question. Okay. And
okay,
so, for every business owner, entrepreneur, founder out there, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, right? We like to focus on the positive. You and I both said that, but we also have to figure out what it is that we need to improve. And so, John, you've built something most people only talk about, right? A business that's actually having a good impact on the world, not just on
yeah.
your bottom line.
Yeah.
And you've done this throughout your career, and now you're doing it again with Haven. And so the goal with Haven is really to scale that impact. That's my assumption, to get
That's right.
reliable light and power to more people, whether that's people that don't have access to it or the local camper who just wants a better device that he can bring camping with his family. So let me ask you this. This is the magic wand part. If you had a
Yeah.
magic wand and you could fix one thing in your business specifically right now, one thing that's either holding you back, slowing you down from having that impact, right? That impact at scale. What would that thing be?
Yeah. I think it's getting the message out, honestly. I think that we built a product on value and we thought about it at cost per lumen, and we're the lowest cost per lumen product in this category ever invented. And a lot of people, organizations, NGOs, consumers look at product by what's the price? And I use an analogy with a blanket. I could give you a really small blanket, this big, and it could be really thin, and you could take it. It might not work that well for you. Or I could give you a really thick 10-yard by 10-yard blanket that your whole family could be warm in, right? It might cost a little more, but the amount of space on the blanket, per inch would be less. So it's a more valuable product. I think trying to train people or retrain people to buy things that last longer, that are more valuable, right? That don't break, that you don't have to buy 10 of them, or you don't have to keep buying batteries for. I think getting the message out is challenging. And so we're trying. And if I could wave a magic wand, I would equalize that marketing space. And right now, it's difficult to compete online with very large companies that have a ton of money to throw at social, at AdWords, etc. It's a difficult, challenging process to get the word out. What we do, our own magic wand, or attempt at our own magic wand, is we focus on brand and mission and relationships. And as we get wins, right, we talk about them. We worked with Global Empowerment Mission in Jamaica, and they delivered lights to people on the ground that really needed them. So we talk about that. And we hope and we feel that authenticity in our messaging can combat money in messaging. And we think, that's our hope. We're not going to do it any other way. I think everyone wants a magic wand. I think everyone wants authenticity right now. Everyone, even if they don't know they do, nobody wants to really doom scroll, because at 4 a.m, you're like, what have I done with my night? Do you know what I mean? Like everyone wants, no, but AI is great. It's just a technology. Fire is great, but you don't want to start a forest fire, right? If you use it properly. It's just about trying to figure out how do you use your tools in a positive manner. That's it. And to me, that's the key. That's the absolute key. Is just figuring out how to use what you have in a way that it assists you, assists people around you, is holistic, is sustainable.
Love that. Yeah, this is the exact kind of conversation we'd love to have on the show, right? It's real, it's honest, it's not scripted. We're talking to like-minded people. This is a reminder for everyone that business can actually mean something. You can make real connections with other people that are like-minded. I really appreciate you being this open. To close this out, I want to make sure that I tell everyone havenlantern.com. There's actually a 15% off unlock on all your orders right now for the Haven 10,000. You just sign up your email, join havenlantern.com. You can get 15% off your purchase. That's something that John and the team have going on as a promotion right now. You can find John on LinkedIn. I'll make sure to put his profile in here so you can connect with him and his other founders of it that help him with his companies. To close out, John, I just want to give one more thing because you said you would do this for me. You said sometimes you say things that aren't the most popular, right? And so whether it's for current business owners, younger generation entrepreneurs coming up, what do you think's one thing that most people need to hear right now? And then we're going to go ahead and close this out.
not popular at all. I think when people start a company now, I think people look for investors and investment. And it's a difficult process to find investment. Investors generally want to see some success. And then they want a great price on your company for the chunk of it that they will then own. And if you're not completely strategically aligned immediately and in the future by your mission, by your process, by who you are socially, from a business perspective, economically, you might get an investor that wants way too much of your company, that wants to sell you off like a chip. So I would say the more you can look for small business loans, bootstrap, slow growth, like then you actually have a company. Then it is your company. Once you start getting a lot of investors, venture is okay, angels, okay, but those are your friends and family. You don't want to lose their money. Private equity, not as okay, in my opinion. Um, I think that's one of those high growth categories. And I don't speak for everyone, but definitely a large chunk of that industry, in my opinion, is about efficiencies and growth versus real solutions and humanity. And so I would say controversial, but go slow, take your time, build it yourself, find a partner, work with someone. My partner is Sunga Jung, as I mentioned. Complement each other, like in your skill sets, right? And take your time. Slow is fast because you can grow a company that grows really fast and find you own 1% of it. And you
Yeah.
haven't made any decisions in the last 5 years in your own company. That's not a good feeling. And you're like, you're running, you're like the gerbil in the wheel, man. Like, that's not life. You have an opportunity, I think. And so the controversial thing is do it yourself, do it slow, take your time, be thoughtful, solve a problem for someone. And you'll probably have to spend less on marketing if you're actually solving a problem.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect way to end this. So, again, everyone, I'm your host, Alex Durante, on the Grid Shift podcast. Our guest today was John Salzinger from Haven Lantern. Check him out. We'll get the links put up in the comments and the description of this episode. Go to havenlantern.com to see his product and purchase one. John, thank you so much for coming on. And again, for anyone who is looking to improve their life, improve their business, Access AI is our sponsor. It's built by human operators. Me and my partner have spent more than 15 years actually building businesses. My partner started a business out of the trunk of his car. And so we know everything from private equity to building a business out of your trunk. And our mission is very simple. We want to help people and business owners get back more time, make a little bit more money, and be able to focus on what they love. So I'll see everybody next time on the Grid Shift podcast. Thanks again, John, and we'll see y'all later. Bye bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Alex.